mitakuyapi, jante washtea, nape chiyuzapi, la chochaje, wiawashte amachiapi, tani tradiarkeo amachiapi. Hello relatives, I greet you with a good heart and a handshake. My Lakota name is Good Woman and my name is Tani Tradiarkeo. I am very excited to share with you what we're going to be doing today, and that is creating these 3-loop beaded earrings. Beadwork is a pretty integral part of our indigenous culture. I am an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and a descendant of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa and the Spirit Lake Nation. The colors that I chose for us today represent the fire colors. So as you see, we have blue, red, orange, yellow, and white, which look like a flame. Others refer to it as the sunset colors. So we're starting with a pretty basic design today so that we get a feel of what it's like working with such small beads. If you feel comfortable moving on, you can learn how to make things such as this hairpiece, which is probably from the 1980s. My dad told me it was purchased. This was not created by me, but this is just a beautiful example of beadwork and how it can last through the ages and be handed down from one generation to the next. I did create these earrings that I am wearing right now, and as you can see, I also use the fire colors because they are one of my favorite colors to work with. Before you bead, it's very important that you have your workspace set out in front of you. You know where you're going to be, and you need to make sure that you are also in a good way or in a good mood. A great way to do that, I would recommend, is maybe smudging yourself and the space that you're going to work with. Open your window, lay your tobacco out, and light your sage. Make sure that you are in the right way, because if you're not going to be in a good way, your beadwork is not also going to be in a good way. The next thing is, let's talk about some of the supplies that you're going to need. You should have a packet like what I'm showing you right now that's full of the beads. It has the needles, the earring hooks, and the string. Some additional supplies that you're going to need is perhaps a paper plate. If you don't have a paper plate, maybe a napkin or a paper towel or even a dish rag would be useful. The next thing is perhaps if you have a needle nose plier, I would recommend. Sometimes it's hard to get that needle to go through, and this will save your fingertips. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. Any type that you have will work to get the job done. All right, some of the supplies that you're going to see us use as we go through how to create our earrings. The first thing is you're going to need is size B nylon thread. As you can see, I have a full spool right here. These John James John James needles are my favorite type of needles to work with. These are size 12 English beading needles. They also are referred to as long needles. We also have some Fire Fawcett larger beads. I believe these are 8mm size beads. And then what you see in front of you, these are size 11 hanks of check seed beads. So once again, size 11 check seed beads. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is take the beading packet that you received. We're going to open it up and remove its contents that were so lovingly put together by my husband and I. This is where your paper plate is going to come in handy. And we're going to empty all of those tiny beads on there. Put that aside. Move. This is on top of here, right? Yep. Okay, we're going to take, this is our string. Oh, losing some of my beads. Oh, these guys got away. And then remove the piece of masking tape that probably has a couple of things stuck to it, but that's okay. That just means it did its job. Thanks, piece of masking tape. Okay, there's our needle that was attached to here. So you should have one needle, 2 earring hooks, and then all of these seed beads, as well as 2 larger beads. So that should be everything inside your pack. This is the part where you're going to need your scissor. You're going to take the piece of string that was inside your bag, and you're going to want to grab it about from your shoulder. I don't know if you can see that, but from your shoulder, and extend the length of your entire arm. All right, and then from there, we're just gonna maybe be a little bit more generous, and we're gonna cut. And here's our first length of string. Okay, we're going to thread our needle, and then take the 2 ends. All right, so our needle is on there. We're gonna take the 2 ends, and then you're just gonna tie these 2 in a knot. So you can just wrap it around if you need to. Sometimes this takes a couple of tries. But we're just gonna knot the end. So you should have a double loop, if you will, or double string. All right, so here's your needle with your string, and it's knotted at the end. We're going to move away from our smaller beads for a moment because these are a little bit harder to see on a video. So I have laid out for you the same pattern of the color that you see right here, but on a larger scale. So what we have, one of the first things we're going to do is when we are attaching the string with our needle to the earring hook, you can see that there's this loop right here at the bottom of the earring hook. So to represent that, I'm going to use this ring. So once again, this ring is going to represent the bottom of this earring hook. So the first thing we do is we take our needle and we're going to go up through our loop, and we pull, 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 pull. And again, I'm working with larger beads, so I have more string right now just to show you this. But I pull almost to the end. And then remember how this is 2 strings. You take your needle, you're going to go in between your 2 strings and then pull all the way through. So you're essentially creating a slip knot. So there is our thread all the way through, and then you'll have this little tail right here. So I'm going to lay this down. The first bead that we pick up is going to be our larger top bead. All right, so representing that, I've got this bead. I'm going to put that through, and this is the bead that we're going to tuck our tail into. So the tail that you have, we're going to take and we're going to tuck our tail inside the larger bead so that you can't see it. And this might take a little bit of maneuvering, and it's not gonna always go through the first time. All right, so there our tail is tucked. So tail is tucked. All right, and again, I'm laying this down. Then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up 10 black beads. Now depending on what's inside your beading pack, you may have black, you may have red, you may have purple, you may have blue. So the example that I'm showing you is with the black beads, but again, it depends on what is inside the packet you're receiving. So we pick up 10 black beads. So our first 10 beads right here. So pick them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so there is 10 black beads. And then the next beads that come after our 10 base color this is where our fire color pattern begins. So we have the 10 black, and then as you can see, we've got the fire color pattern. So it goes blue, red, orange, yellow, white, and then we repeat again with yellow, orange, red, and blue. So we pick up our 2 blues, our 2 reds, our 2 oranges, 2 yellow. So that's quite a few. I'm going to go ahead and pull those to the end. One of the things about this is the more you do it, the more you're going to get used to what kind of tension you need to have. So because we have 2 threads, 2 strings, you're going to want to make sure that both of those are being pulled so that you don't have one coming out of the end. We want to make sure that that stays nice and tight, but not too tight that when we get to the end that it's going to make it lay wonky. We still want it to have a nice flow. So we left off with the yellow. We are going to do white, and then our pattern repeats itself and we go back to the yellow. This is good practice for what my colors are. An orange, 2 red, and 2 blue. All right, so we'll put those, pull those through. And do you see how I'm just letting this lay here? This is how I do it on the when I make these when they're this size as well. It just helps me to do a couple of things. I can double check how many I've done and make sure that I've picked up the right number. I can double check my pattern. So now that we have our fire color pattern on there, the next part is we're going to do the bottom loop. So this bottom loop right here, if you look, you can see that these are actually 3 different lengths. So we're starting with our smallest length right here. From blue bead to blue bead, there are 15 beads in between. So I've got 15 laid out here. On the next one, there's going to be 20, and on the third one, there's going to be 25. So this piece right here is going to increase by 5 beads each time. So there's our fire colors. And again, we're going to pick up 15 of our main colors. Yours could be red, could be purple, could be black, could be blue. So here is that. And then once we have our first 15, we're repeating the pattern up the other side. So blue, red, orange, yellow, white. Okay, and we're going to pull that a little bit tighter. And then keep going with our orange, or excuse me, see, this is why this is practice. Yellow, orange, red, and then blue. Okay. So, as you can see, we're working on coming up the other side. So we have our 10 beads, our fire pattern color, or our fire color pattern. We have our 15 coming up again with the fire color pattern. Sorry guys. And then we're going to do the 10 on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we've picked up our remaining beads. So here's our first loop. And again, you're going to want to make sure that you're pulling enough that everything is nice and smooth, that your thread is not getting knotted, that it's not sticking out in a place that it shouldn't be. And that's why I like to leave it laying down when I'm doing this. So this is the part where after we've picked up all the beads from our first loop, we're going to take our needle and we're going to go in this big bead on the bottom of it. So we're going to go underneath and we're going to come out under the hook. So as you can hopefully see, we're coming out under the hook we're gonna pull this all the way through. All right, so my thread and my needle have come in between, or excuse me, from underneath the hook. And then we're essentially going to loop onto our ring. So we came through, now we're gonna go back down. So we came up from the bottom, we're going back through the top, through our big bead, and then we're gonna come out the bottom. So pull, pull, pull. And again, this is where we want to make sure our tension is correct, our thread is all the way through and not sticking out any places that it shouldn't be. All right, and then from there, this is where we would begin our second loop. So our first one is done, and we'll just go over this pattern one more time. So we started with our big bead, we picked up 10 of our main color, we did our fire color pattern, we started with 15, our fire color pattern, and then 10 more at the top. We went through our large bead on the underside, looped over the hook, down through our large bead again, and we're ready for our second row. When we start with our second row, we're gonna do exactly the same thing until we get to the end of the fire color pattern. We're gonna pick up 10 of your main color. You're gonna do your fire color pattern, and then remember, you're going to increase by 5 when you get to the bottom right here. So if this one is 15, the next time we would pick up 20 beads on the bottom, repeat our pattern, 10 on the top through the bead, and then you do the same thing. You go up on the bottom, back through the bead and down, where we would begin our third loop. Same thing, 10 of our main color, our fire color pattern. Since this is our third time, 15, 20, we would do 25 on the next round. Back up, fire color, 10 of our main color, and then through our larger bead, and then through the ring again. at this point, you should have all of your beads looped onto your earring hook, all right? So this is how we're gonna finish. So this is my last loop of beads. So we're gonna take it and do what we've done for the other two, is we go in through just the large bead, and this is where you might need your needle nose pliers, because it might be a little bit difficult to get that needle through. But we just want to make sure that, again, you're coming up through the bottom of your earring hook. We're going to come up. We're going to make sure that both of the ends are pulled through. And then once we have that through, instead of going back down through the large bead like we have for the other two, we're going to take this and we're essentially going to just knot it off. So I'm going to be with, if you can see, I'm using my thumb and my forefinger to hold, or pointer finger to hold this. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go through the loop again, and I'm going to tie a knot essentially. So going back through, we're going to tie one knot, and then I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to go through, pull, and I'm going to be tying a second knot. And at this point, now we're going to go back down through the bead, the larger bead again. And once again, might be a little bit tricky to get your needle in there at this point. So this is where our pliers is going to come in handy. We're going to push it through all the way. We're going to make sure it's pulled tight. So as you've been looping this, your tension on your loops is something that you're just going to have to practice. Practice makes perfect. Your first one might be very loose. It might be too tight. But the more that you do it, the more you're going to find kind of that perfect tension to where your earring is going to fall nice. So our extra thread that we have hanging out here is just going to be very easily snipped away. So I'm going to grab onto this. We're just going to cut the extra thread. And there is a finished earring.